By now, you've heard about Global Poker, one of the fastest growing online card rooms available in the US and Canada today. So what's stopping you from trying it out? Global Poker is a safe and secure social poker site that uses their own patented sweepstakes model. Signing up is easy. You can use Google, Facebook, or just an email address. You can always play for free on Global Poker, but you can also buy gold coins for additional play, which will earn sweeps coins that can be redeemed for real cash to a bank account, Skrill account, or even as a gift card. Get a free 5,000 gold coins when you sign up right now at globalpoker.com.
Poker Stories is an audio series that features casual interviews with some of the game's best players and personalities. Each episode highlights a well-known figure in the poker world and dives deep into their favorite tales, both on and off the field.
Hello and welcome to Poker Stories, a podcast brought to you by Card Player, the Poker Authority, and hosted by me, Julio Rodriguez. This is episode number 108, featuring Ronnie Bardah. Now, this is the perfect time to have Ronnie on the show because he just picked up the biggest payday of his career, chopping the World Poker Tour Lucky Hearts Poker Open main event down at the Hard Rock in South Florida for $566,000. Ronnie is now 38 years old and has just shy of $2 million in career live tournament earnings. In 2010, he finished 24th in the World Series of Poker main event, taking home $317,000. And that score was part of 5 consecutive main event cashes, which is the most in poker history. Ronnie also has a WSOP bracelet, having won the $2,500 Six Max Limit Hold'em event back in 2012. Outside of poker, Ronnie is known for his short time as a cast member of the CBS game show Survivor, which of course we talked about on this podcast. That's enough intro. Here is my conversation with Ronnie Bardah. I'm here with the one and only Ronnie Bardah. Ronnie, how you doing?
I'm good, man. How are you? How's things?
I'm good. I'm not as good as you. I mean, obviously, we couldn't have timed this podcast any better. You're coming
cool
off of a nice chop over there in Florida.
Yeah, it's pretty cool that we plan to do this, a few days before the score. So, and it really makes me feel good that you wanted to do a podcast with me anyhow. You know what I mean? So and then this happened, and I'm like, it's just so it's really awesome. Yeah.
That's right. For the listeners at home, I am not just, striking hot with the flavor of the month here. I have been pestering Ronnie to come on the podcast for quite a while, and it never worked out timing-wise. And then we finally agreed to do it, and then we had to push it back because you were busy winning a tournament in Florida. So.
Yep. I remember we had a day set aside, and then I said, "Hey, man, I made day 3 or day 2 of this tournament. Can we just postpone?" And you're like, "Yeah, man, of course, go ahead, we'll win that thing." And and basically that happened. A chop 3. Basically, we all tied for first and played for a little more, and ended up taking third, which is a win, huge win.
Yeah, we will get to the big Florida score in short time, but I want to go back to the beginning, back to Brockton, or is it Stoneham or Brockton? There's a controversy. Where are you from?
Yeah, the controversy is stupid. It's in like the Wikipedia right there. I'm from Brockton, Massachusetts. I was born in a hospital in Stoughton, but I'm not from Stoughton because that was the hospital my mom went to. And I'm from Brockton. I lived in Easton as a child. Like I was born in a house in Easton, Mass, which is right next to Brockton, and then moved to Brockton when I was 4 years old, and spent my whole childhood there up through my early young adult years as well. So I was there for 20 something odd years. So born and raised in Brockton, Massachusetts is where I'm from.
So your parents are from Israel?
Yeah, my parents are both Israeli. My dad was born in Libya, in North Africa, and there were many Jewish families in Libya at the time. There weren't that many. My mom was born in Morocco in 1955 in a place called Midlet next to Rabat. So my parents are North African Jews. My dad is like half Sicilian though, and so it's a lot of Italian and North African mixture. So the thing is, during World War II, my dad was born in 1943, And in
Wow.
45, yeah, he's
You're
getting
only
up there.
38, right?
Yeah, my dad had me when he was like 40 years old. So, so anyways, my dad was in a camp because Hitler invaded North Africa and wanted to get all the Jews. He was doing a good job of rounding up all the Jews, that piece of shit, in in Europe, and toward the end of World War II, he was trying to make his way through Africa to get the Jews, and eventually bring them into the death camps in Germany and Poland, as you know. And Libya said, yeah, of course you can have our Jews. Here you go. Here they are. All the my dad and his family was in a waiting camp. Okay, by the end of World War II, they were in this waiting camp, waiting to go to eventually to a death camp, of course. And thank God that the war was over, Germany was finished, and they were liberated. And at that point, they went to Israel. So my dad was the only one of his he has two older sisters, but his four younger brothers are all born in Israel. And on my mom's side, Hitler tried to come in Morocco. My mom wasn't born yet at that time, but my grandparents obviously were. And King Hassan of Morocco, the Muslim king, said, if you wage war on our Jews, like no matter what, Jews, Muslim, Christian, a Moroccan is a Moroccan, and you're gonna have problem. So they were ready to go to war. He was like, you're not touching anybody in this country. So that was really cool. But Libya, they had a different view. They're like, yeah, you can take them. Right now, there are no living Jews in Libya. Libya's a pretty dangerous place, to be honest. And in Morocco, there was 500,000 Jews in Morocco. Now there's only about 2,500.
Wow.
Yeah, and mostly all the Moroccan Jews either live in France or Israel or some in Canada and around the U.S., of course. So there's a little bit of history for you. I know you just asked my parents were Israeli, but a lot of people don't know that. People think about Jews, they just think about like the Weinsteins and the Goldbergs, and we call them the Ashkenazi Jews. So there's Ashkenazi and there's Sephardic Jews. I'm Sephardic Jew. Michael Mizrahi is a Sephardic Jew. There's a lot of Sephardi players, actually. David Levy's kind of like a mix. So Israel is just a melting pot of Jews. So if you go to people ask me what I am, I say I'm Israeli, but it's like me asking what you are, and you're like, I'm American,
Yeah,
and I'm like,
exactly.
Dude, what are you though? You're like, oh, I'm Mexican, I'm Dominican, I'm this, I'm that. So when people just ask me what I am, I say I'm Israeli, but to be honest, I'm a Moroccan, Italian, Moroccan Sicilian Jew, basically. So
yeah. Well, your parents meet in Israel, I'm guessing, and then come over together?
Actually, they met in the States. There's a lot of Jews in the States, Israelis. There was a lot of Israeli gatherings and parties, in the early 80s, wherever you're at. Israelis kind of, Jews want to find other Jews. So they found each other in Boston. My mom was previously married and had my brother. So my parents met, and out came me and my sister in 1986. And Brockton was an interesting place to grow up, to say the least.
Yeah, well, what was little Ronnie into? I'm guessing you weren't a Magic the Gathering player?
I was not a Magic the Gathering player. I was into playing basketball, a lot of Manhunt. When I got a little older, I started getting into I played Nintendo as a kid, and Genesis and Super Nintendo, but then I had the Nintendo 64, and at that point I was finished. When I realized that what girls were, I was just finished with video games, to be honest.
Yeah.
And then I got into sports cars. I was really into sports cars as a young kid, and eventually later in life, I picked it back up about 15 years ago in my mid-20s, and I have a really nice collection I've been keeping and adding to over the years. And right now there's a huge boom, so that's pretty cool. But yeah, as a young kid, in my teens, I played a lot of basketball, just chasing girls.
Wait, real quick, tell me about this collection.
So in 1993, there was a reprint set of 1953 Topps baseball, a 40-year reprint set, and it was really attainable as a kid. They were like $1, $2 a pack. I collected 3 of those sets, and I just was in love with vintage baseball cards. At all the card shows, everybody wanted the Shaquille O'Neal rookie. I mean, I like the Jordans. I had a lot of Jordans, but I really wanted the Mickey Mantle. I wanted the Babe Ruth. I wanted the Joe DiMaggio. I wanted the Pee Wee Reese. I wanted the Willie McCovey rookie, the Hank Aaron's, the Willie Mays. I always just loved old cards because whenever I looked at something from 1952 or 1961 or 1933 Gaudi card, the card just represents like a time, like you could actually feel what it felt like to be in that time. Like it's just unbelievable how the art progressed and how the cards changed and looked. You could just feel what America was about in that time. It's like it gives me like goosebumps when I still think about it as a kid. And like, I was a 12-year-old, 11-year-old kid. I was like 1990. I was born in 82. It was like the early 90s. And I would see a car from 1954, and I'd be like, wow. And I would just like picture like the cars, like the people, you know, how things were. The car, like just the how baseball was then, and pre steroid era, and just it's just pure fucking Americana. And I have a big passion for it. So obviously the
It's
real deal
booming now. It's like becoming a second wave right now in popularity. I'm seeing people doing these breaks things on Facebook every night.
Yeah, the breaks
Like
are like
poker players, like even doing it.
yeah, Tana's into it. Boston Rob is starting to do that from Survivor. He's getting involved. The girl Haley. A lot of people are getting into it. I mean, Jared Blesnick and Tom Marchese, they own Legacy Sports Cards. I mean, they run so good. I mean, they bought it 2.5 years ago, and like just perfect timing, you know. And
Wow.
Blez has one of the biggest breaks in the country, like the most popular break ever. And I know Blez personally. We go out once in a while. We talk, and he thought about bringing me on as a breaker, and I just like it's not to sound all conceited. It's just I don't know if it's worth it in terms of making in terms of my time compared to how much I'm going to be making. But like I told him I would like to help him out and come on as a guest once in a while, do some breaks. But I have some old wax that I've held on to. I got 5 boxes of '88 Flair basketball, which is Jordan's 30 year, Scottie Pippen's rookie, Dennis Rodman, Reggie Miller, John Stockton rookie. Some really cool cards in there, and some of the cards are selling for 10,000 plus right now. So I'm thinking about breaking one of the boxes online myself and charging per pack, and just to have fun and see if anybody pulls anything. But yeah, cards are booming. The 53 top set, I decided to start making 2009, and it was an expensive set. I'm still in the process 12 years later. I have 9 cards left at a 274. But I mean, I've been searching for cards on every single auction house, card shows. I mean, you name it. I need 9 left. When I started the set, Mickey Mantle and a PSA graded 8 was in the book for like 7,500. Now you can't touch that card for under 50,000. Okay, so it's ridiculous. And I'm making the grades. I'm doing the set from 7s plus. So a lot of my good cards are in 7s. I have a lot of 8s, but like my lowest grade is a Mantle 6.5, and I bought the card for 8,000 a year ago. Right now it's worth like 17, 18,000. But I really would like to get the 7 or the 8, and I'm ready to. Like this score I just made, I'm ready to find one and to upgrade my set, and also find the other 9 cards that I'm missing. It's kind of like a retirement plan for me, but also a cool collection. It's
this is fascinating stuff. I mean, I stopped when I was a teenager. Do you know Jeff Wang at all?
Jeff Wang, yeah, is he from the cash game player from Foxwoods?
I don't know. He's from Florida. Jeff used to be a card player writer. He wrote the Advanced Pot Limit Omaha series of books. But he's also like the foremost authority on baseball card value, and he wrote the Modern Baseball Card Investor book, which apparently is the Bible these days. But yeah, he was telling me so much about how big this industry was getting like 5-6 years ago, and how it was going to make a big turnaround. Yeah, you should hook up with him if you're.
I gotta hook up with him. Yeah, I knew that the basketball market was one untouched one. I knew it was going to blow up, and I had a whole list of things I wanted to buy earlier this year. Donnie Peters, if you know him, I know you know Donnie. He's been around the game for a while. I was staying with him during the first few months of Corona, him and his wife, and like he's seen the list that I had, and I got the Pete Maravich rookie. There's a lot of cards I wanted on it, like the Will Chamberlain, the Bill Russell, all these cards I thought were undervalued, and I felt were, because the baseball market was so. I felt like the comparison was ridiculous, and I was like, why are these cards stagnant? And then all of a sudden, boom, like everything like 8 to 10x, and I didn't get everything that I wanted. It's unfortunate, but it's okay. It really is.
Yeah, it was your version of GameStop.
Yeah, basically.
All right, well, let's get off baseball or basketball cards before
back to poker.
We got to get back to poker. So how do you discover poker?
So, my story is one that, like I didn't, poker basically, not to sound all corny, but poker found me. Like I grew up in a casino. So like my parents were both pretty much degenerates. My dad was a huge degenerate. God bless him. He's still with us. I love him. He lives here in Vegas, but he loved to gamble. He's always in the casinos playing, Caribbean stud, roulette, blackjack, craps, and he played poker as well. So my dad, taught me how to play poker at a young age. He played a lot of 5-card draw, a lot of 7-card stud when I was like 12, 13. I played 5-card draw like 9 years old. So I knew the value. I knew what beat what at like 8, 9 years old. Right. And then my parents got a divorce when I was 13, and that was kind of hard on my dad. So I grew up at the Foxwoods Casino and Mohegan Sun when I was a kid. Like I was there every single weekend, and I was in the arcades with all the same kids every single weekend. I would be hanging out with the same Vietnamese kids, the same Asian, like Chinese or Korean kids, and we would just like, we see you next week because our parents came there every week, every weekend, right? And only that, I was also in like random dog track, and I just loved it. Like I loved it. I loved the atmosphere. I loved walking around casinos as a child. And when I was able to get a fake ID in my senior year of high school, I started playing in the pits with my dad. And I remember I would try to get in the game and play 1 to 5 stud with him, 50-cent antes and stuff. And he would yell at me because I would play a hand wrong or like embarrass me in front of everybody. So I would go back into the pits. And then by like 19, 20, 21, 20 years old, basically, I started playing like basements of houses. We played like $5 sit and goes. And this was right around the Moneymaker one, maybe like before, like in between Marconi and Moneymakers, when I really started like, what's this poker about? They didn't have No Limit Hold'em yet at Foxwoods. Like they had a game. It was like $1, $2, but $100 max. It was weird. And I remember it was $40 min, $100 max. And then they changed it later to $60 min, $300 max in like the end of 2004. And then they had like a 5-5 no limit game. But everything was limit hold'em and everything was stud. So to answer your question, like a lot of these kids these days like choose poker. They're like, oh, I quit my job. I quit like, finance. I quit as a lawyer. I'm a poker player. Or they leave all these like they come from money, or they have like all these opportunities and they decide to just put it to the side for poker. Like I didn't have any of that. So like this was my way out. And, I'm just like, I just grew up in that live setting, and I didn't come up from playing online. Like a lot of kids, they're 18, they open an account in their parents' name, they start playing online, and they transition from online to live. And for me, it was playing live, and I had to get used to playing a little online, which I hate. I just hate playing online. I enjoy it sometimes, but I just don't like it.
Yeah,
So.
it's a little bit of a sad story, you being dumped at the arcade every weekend. I'm sure it didn't feel sad to you at the time. But it does sound like you didn't have a choice,
Yeah,
you were going to be a gambler.
The arcade closed at like 11, 10 o'clock, and then my dad we'd sit on a bench for a few hours waiting for him. He'd get there at 1 a.m. And sometimes he would say we're going home. A couple times this happened, and I'd wake up in the parking lot in Mohegan Sun, with the windows cracked. Me and my little sister would be sleeping in the car, and not even because we'd pass out because we're so tired from waiting all night. And he's like, F it, I'm gonna go gamble a little more. And I'd wake up in the middle of 4 a.m. and be in the car. So it is what it is. I love him to death. He made sure to keep the windows down a little. So that's good. But that's what it was. I'm just being completely honest and transparent. I'm not ashamed of him. I love him, and that's what life was. So,
were you at least able to learn from his mistakes in that you were drawn to poker and not so much the pit games, or did that take some?
It took some
lessons?
time. It took some hard lessons. Like there was one time in 2005 that I won 5 seats for the main. That's why I built my bankroll. Is basically playing the act satellites at Foxwoods. And they had these like system where you play like an act 1 for $60. If you win your seat, go to the act 2. They would take top 2 from there. So top 2. And then you win your seat in a 1K multi-table satellite. And if you won your seat there, your first seat would be awarded in a seat. And if you won your second seat, you would be awarded in some cash and like a couple prelims. And then after that, all cash. So 2005, I won 5 seats. So I put together like a 30, 40K bankroll. And I went up to the Star Geyser. It was like the top of the Pequot Towers at Foxwoods, and I lost 17,000 one night. And I was like, "What am I doing?" And that wasn't the end. I would run up a roll, and I would go below. I would go back to blackjack, and sometimes I make 7,000, 8,000. But most of the times I would get my face ripped off, and if whatever I had in my pocket was gone. So it took me to around like 2007 or 8 to realize, just like when poker was so good that I was making so much money, it didn't really matter. But then it just took me to get a little older, like, yo, cut it, And now I'm just like Kanish, you know what I mean? I don't do that anymore. But sometimes with friends coming into town, like they want to play blackjack. I'll go put 200-300 on the table. I gotta lose the 200. I just feel like my life is over. I lose 10,000 playing a cash game. I don't care. Like it's like whatever. Like obviously it stings, but you're like, it's whatever. But if I lose like 200-300 now these days playing blackjack, I'm just like, oh my god, what's going on here? What am I doing?
Yeah, you feel sick about it.
Sick about it.
So what is the plan? You're 18, 19, 20. Are you saying I'm all in as a poker pro, or you have other irons in the fire?
As a child, I was in the streets, hustling, doing some stuff that back then wasn't legal, and
Things that are very profitable today.
things that are very profitable today that are legal.
Yeah.
So, I never got into selling anything that would ever make anybody hurt or unhealthy. That was one thing that I was very conscious of as a young man. I didn't want. A lot of my friends went that route, and they sold a lot of coke and crack and heroin. And I seen a lot of things. I seen a lot of kids from the suburbs come to Brockton and take a belt off their waist and strap up and just inject in front of me many times. And because some of my friends I grew up with, that's the route they took. And when you grow up with these kids, when you're 7, 8, you're 9 years old, 10, playing basketball, playing manhunt, playing video games, all these kids are over your house playing GoldenEye and Mario Kart, and all of a sudden they're slinging heroin and selling crack. Well, you just don't disown your friends. I'm a loyal person. They're just like, I love these guys, but this is what they got into. So it was a really crazy line to walk and to balance and to kind of stay away from them and kind of just be their friends and loyal to them at the same time. And, because we just loved each other. So unfortunately, some of those kids aren't here with us. Some of them are locked up and some of them are doing fine right now. Some of them got out and have families, and it's great. So when I was younger, I just did that for a little while. I sold, the chronic, and but it was for like a 2-year period, and I got out of that and was working at an automotive garage and part-time playing poker, and then just the poker eclipsed everything. I mean, I worked less hours, I sold less weed, and the other two just kind of, the weed went first. I stopped doing that, and then I just kind of like walked away from work. I gave like 2 weeks notice in like 2004, and that's when I went pro. And it's 17 years now. We're going on 17 years. Yeah, I was playing a lot of basements in like Brockton. I was doing really well. Took my game to Fox, was doing really well, and staying down there, going to Borgata once in a while when they opened. And I was making way more money than I was playing cash, and I could selling tires and batteries. So
Yeah,
that's all that happened.
So there was a period of time there, right when the boom started, where it seemed like the instructional material was still geared towards limit hold'em. So everyone was kind of dipping their toes into that first before making the switch to no limit hold'em. And then all of a sudden, 2006, 2007, people are just jumping headfirst into no limit. But it seems to me like you got caught in the limit hold'em for a while.
It was funny. I started playing no limit first. So I was playing limit, but I would go back and forth. But I was a big no limit guy in the early to mid 2000s. And then all of a sudden, like I started playing a lot of 10-20 limit. It was like 1-2 no limit and 10-20 limit were my games. Like 2-5 game didn't get incorporated in Fox until like 2007. Like that's when they started running 2-5. So it was 1-2 5-10 limit with a kill. I think was the game I played a lot. And yeah, 5-10 limit with a kill and 1-2 no limit. And I love playing a lot of no limit because I played a lot of no limit tournaments. But then I switched over to limit hold'em like 2007, 8. I was playing a lot of 2040. And yeah, it was just a big game at Fox. The big game at Fox was a 75 stud game that I never started. I didn't play. I played it a couple of times recently, over the last few years when I go there. But they had like an HOE game and stuff. It was just too big for me. So to answer your question, I would go back and forth, and then later, even growing, like I lived in New London and lived in Mystic when I moved out of Brockton like 2008 to 2011. I was in the Connecticut area, and I would just go play like 2040 and 4080 when the games ran, but sometimes I would just play 5-10 no limit, and I would go back and forth, and I was very versatile in those both styles of hold'em, and then play the dailies and play nightlies and wait for the people to come around, wait for the World Poker Tours, and just grind the satellites. So. But yeah, I love limit hold'em, and I mean I don't want to fast forward in my story, but when I lived in Miami, I played no limit every day. I moved to Miami when the floodgates opened and everybody flooded in. The gates opened for no limit, and like the $100 max rule was over. So I played no limit every day because there was no limit. There was no limit hold'em any limit hold'em in Florida, which was odd because a lot of older folks love playing it. So I would only play limit hold'em when I went to the series, and all summer I would grind tournaments and limit hold'em at Bellagio until I finally moved here in 2015, and now I just play mostly limit hold'em, right? Because 40 game goes every day, but I still play 5, 10, and 10, 20 at Bellagio once in a while, just to keep the dust off, and move all in for the blood, for the flow, just to get the blood, just to get the heart beating.
Yeah, I remember I'm from Florida and I was there right before they changed the laws and they had that $100 cap game. But just looking around, going, this place is about to go off if they had any sort of freedom whatsoever. Obviously you just came back from Florida. Is the action still as good as it was when they first opened up?
It's only good now because of COVID and nobody has anything to do, and also because of the tournament was down there. But public poker in Florida is pretty much dead unless you're playing 2-5 and like. 2-5 no limit hold'em. Let's be honest, it's going to be good everywhere because there's a lot. You can never really find a bad 2-5 game. There's a lot of recreational players who just want to play poker and have fun, or weekend warriors who come in at night to play 2-5. But anything bigger than that in Florida, you got to get into private games. Florida has a huge private game culture, and I'm not going to throw names out there, but I have a lot of good friends who run private games. One in particular was a really, really close friend I stayed with down there for the tournaments, and he has a game in two different casinos. And they're running private games or reserve seat games in casinos. So reserve seat, you set your whole 8, and like nobody can get until the seat opens. But then like there's ways of going around it. They grease the floor. They take like skip people on lists. It's the wild west down there. And if
so when you say private games, you're not talking about like those high stakes games that like Miami Heat players and Florida Marlin players are in.
I'm talking about the guys who are down there who have money, who don't want to play in games with a whole bunch of kids who have headphones and are not talking or are not sociable and aren't entertaining. These guys work hard. At first I was kind of hating on the private game scene when I was down there. I was like, oh, this is ridiculous. This is bullshit. Why? I want to be able to play with everybody and everybody. But like you get 1 or 2 guys come in who have a lot of money who don't play that well, and they play with 6 or 7 good players. They get crushed. These guys want to play with other whales or other people they have things in common interest with. They want to play with other CEO of companies, other guys who own tons of real estate, and other guys who own businesses, and 1 or 2 pros that get the game running. 1 or 2 guys who are very sociable, who play for a living, but do other things as well, who can relate to them, who want to, and those are the guys that are crushing down there. And they're putting these games together with 7 guys who aren't any good, but you know what? They can beat each other. And the kids, the pros who are running these games are just making so much money. But they take these guys out. They bring them out to strip clubs. Etc. They bring them on boats. They have parties and they give back money. Like they know what they're doing. So the kids who were complaining about this stuff, like I was one of them one day. It's just like shut up. Either like do it or not. Like or just go move to Commerce or move somewhere else where public games are still going on that are still decent. But that's what poker's all about now. And like public poker in Florida is dead. Like. It's not dead if you want to make 30, 40, 50K a year playing 2-5 and maybe doing something else with your life. But like if you want to make a lot of money, if you want to make 300-400K a year, you gotta politic, you gotta network, and you gotta start running games. You gotta start getting into the games. And I mean it's just another world, man. It's insane. I know all these games. I know it's crazy.
It's interesting. I think I was like you. I used to be firmly against it when I first heard about this phenomenon, but then I started thinking about it. People should be allowed to play with who they want to play with, assuming there isn't some sort of predatory behavior going on. And back in the day, before poker was readily available in every casino, guys like Doyle and Amarillo Slim and all those people in the Texas road games, they had to have the personality, the charm to find a game, to be invited to stay there, to win and not get, taken out back. So maybe that's a skill that poker players should learn to develop.
It really is. And anybody listening to this, like, look, I was one person who it's not my style to like befriend people because I have a lot of money. Like that's one thing that I'm really not great at. I mean, yes, I'm very popular in the poker world, and I appreciate everybody's love, and people have high respect for me, and I have respect for them, for the people that are doing it right. But like I used to kind of look down on like some people that would just like find the guys with like the boats and the yachts and try to befriend them because they know they have money to get them in their games. And I'm like, I don't know, it's kind of weird. I like relationships that are built organically and genuinely. Like I don't go out and find people like, I have friends that have all the money in the world, and I have friends who are like who are struggling, and like I'm just a loyal person, and people who are my friends are my friends. But like I'm just not comfortable with that. But I don't look down on it anymore, because like if you want to get money and you want to be rich, you gotta surround yourself with people that are doing well, right? If you like want to like learn about the stock market, if you want to learn about running a business, if you want to learn about how to like just exponentially grow, sometimes you need to keep that kind of presence around you. So to be honest, like I'm starting to like just to think a bit different as I'm getting a bit older, and I have a different perspective, but I am still the same guy. I'm someone who, like I said, just like loves people, and I just love people for who they are. If I meet you and we meet in a really cool place and I have no idea who you are, like we'll be friends or not. Like, but then 7-8 months down the road, I realize you're a multimillionaire. Good for you. Like it doesn't change my opinion of you or anything. Like if you're a good person, you're a good person. So I think it's okay. I think a lot of these guys are doing what they need to do for themselves, and like you said, like we both looked at it kind of funny, but it's just really what it is. What's going on right now? It's crazy.
Let's get into the tournament success, specifically at the World Series of Poker. Let's talk about let's go the streak first. Uh, a lot
Yeah.
of a lot of attention was given to you for this streak. I don't know how much pressure it put on you. Can you talk about that?
Yeah, sure. My first main event was like 2006 or 7. I think it was the Jamie Gold year. And like I won my
Oh,
seat.
06.
06. I won my seat in a single table satellite, and I busted on day one, like the end of the night. I shoved like 9-7 of clubs or spades, and a guy called me with ace 10 off. I shoved like maybe like, I don't know, 60. It's when you started with 10,000 chips, right? And it was like the last level of the day was like 300, 600, and I was down to like 6,100. And the folded to me, I shoved 10 big blinds, and the guy called me with ace 8 off, and I berated the guy. I yelled at him. I was like, "How do you call?" I was such an obnoxious, like, I know I was better than my opponents because I had a really good gut on me, but I was just terrible, and I was yelling at this guy for calling me with the best hand. So I bust out, and I don't play the main event until I started the streak in 2010, and I won my seat in Israel on the beach, showing my cousin how to play poker and sitting goes, and it was surreal. Like I won, I started in a step 4 or whatever on full tilt, and I just kept. They're all turbos, and I literally won my seat within like 6 hours, because the last step was like a real sit and go,
Yeah.
and yeah, the step 7 or whatever was like $2,100 buy-in or whatever it was, and I won my seat. And I was trying to tell my cousin, like, I want a 12K package, and then she's like, "Oh my god!" And then I came to Vegas, so the full flip was 10,000 in your account. Okay, they gave you they put 12,000 in your account. Sorry, and in order to play the main, you got to sell off the money and take the money and buy in. So full tilt says, are you going to play or you're not going to play, or something? Something like that. Like I remember, like they ask you if you're going to play, and I said yes. So they like either way they put the money in your account, but if you're going to play, like they make a jersey for you, and you're eligible for, if you cash the main, you get a free seat next year, and also if you take first place, you get an extra 10 million from full tilt. Second was like 3 million, and third was like 2 million, and if you make the final table, it's an extra million. So I'm like, let's go. So I go to Vegas with like I run pretty bad at home. I remember I came back home in the summertime from Israel, and I'm like, wasn't out for the whole series. It was like a week and a half, 2 weeks before the main, and I lose like half my roll playing cash, which like I had like a 25K roll. I go on a 10K downswing, and I lose. I have like 15K, and I pay like 3-4K in bills, and now I have 12K, and I bring like 8,000 with me to Vegas, and I sold the 10,000. I'm waiting for the cash from a friend who bought the full tilt funds. He's in Vegas, and he has a 10,000 for my main event buy-in. And I go there with my last like 8,000 and 4K back home, and I say to myself, if I don't run this money up playing 30-60 limit hold'em, forget the main event. You got to take care of yourself.
Yeah.
If I go on like a 6K down, I need the money to pay bills. I'm like, so make a long story short, I run up the money. I run up the 8K to like 17 or 18,000 in a week playing 30-60. I sell 25% of myself at 1.1, and I put in the main, and I take 24th place for 317,000. And that's what really changed my life. That's what really, gave me the confidence and set me forward set me straight into like, now I can play games comfortably, and now it's a different ball game. And from there on, I cashed in 11, cashed in 12. From that year, I won my bracelet. I cashed in 13. And then 2000, I had chips in every one of those years. And then 2014, in my fifth cash, I was like grinding on the bubble of like anywhere from like 12 to like 18 big blinds, and it was so like nerve wracking. It's crazy.
So obviously, have you been looking at the streak, or do you still hold the record?
I do still hold the record. I have no idea if anybody can break it. I don't know if they're counting the online, and there was two online events too. Like, which one is going to count?
There's going to be an asterisk for sure.
Yeah, and also when I did it, dude, it was 10% prize. It was 10% of the payout. Like, they only pay 10% of the field when I did it in 5 years. And then now people they cash in like 18, 19, 17% to 18%. I'm like, all right. Also, there's that. So, I think my record is very unique. I think it's a cool one. And I always told people, I don't think anybody's going to beat it, especially at 10%. Maybe somebody will, but it's still there. I still hold it. So it's pretty awesome.
What is it about the main event that you have mastered, or should I say, is there a different approach to it that you take than a normal tournament?
Oh, for sure. I didn't cash the last 4 times, but I bubbled like twice. And the one year I could have cashed was the last year I played. I just decided to go with 2 queens all in pre, guy at kings, and I busted. But what I do differently is like, you just got to realize you have 2-hour levels. I turn down a lot of spots where like a lot of players might take, and it's like, I wouldn't call high variance spots, but semi-high variance, where I just like playing a lot of post flop. So, if people build these humongous spots pre, I tend to stray away and I want to play in position. I do a lot of things. I work off feelings, and I tell myself in my head when I'm always playing the main that like, this is a marathon. It's the longest marathon in poker. I mean, it takes so many days. I mean, just what, everybody knows this. You can't win a tournament in one hand, but you can definitely bust in one hand, basically. So there was a little luck, obviously, on my side. I mean, cashing 5 years in a row you can't do it with some luck. But I will pride myself in saying that, I just avoid a lot of unavoidable situations. Like, for saying, like, a lot of people like, nothing you can do there. I had this many chips. This is what, it says I have to shove. It says I have to do this. I can't fold this hand on this river. How do we fold the turn here? And I'm not saying that some of my folds might have been probably bad. But I just factor in risk reward. Like, is this worth it for me to take this spot here? And if it's not, I still have 80 big blinds. You're always so deep in the main. Obviously when you get short, when you get down to 20 or like 15 big blinds, I think hands play themselves sometimes, unless you have a really good read on your opponent and you're able to fold a hand that you should never fold. And that's what happens sometimes. Like, that happens, and I have these amazing live tells. I pride myself on my instincts, and I just use them to navigate through the main event. Also, table draw is very important in the main event. Sometimes you get awful table draws. I was, fortunate to have some amazing table draws through the years. Sometimes you get in rough spots, but you have a few good players. You just try to stay away from them. You got to butt heads, you do. And a lot of people will exploit you. The players know I'm staying away from them, so they'll 3-bet me lighter, or they'll raise me on the river, or they'll do certain things when they know I'm value bet and they want to try to take me off a few spots. And this is up to you to determine if they're doing that or not, right? So when you're playing with other pros in the main, there's a lot of leveling going on, because you're looking around the table and you're like, holy shit, there's a lot of bar tournament winners who won their seat in their bar in Wichita, Kansas, who are here to play. There's a few satellite winners, a lot of players that have played them. And they'll tell you, it's like my first main event. And you're like, oh, man, don't say that. You want to help them up. So yeah, my first main event, man, I'm out here. This is amazing. I made day 2. And there's like, and then they know who you are, and you're just like, you got to play that all out. You got to play how they perceive you. Like, a lot of players think I'm a lot better than I actually am, And I'm like, just like I tell a lot of beginners, I'm like, dude, it's just poker. Cards speak. Use your gut. Good luck. Like, enough. Like, stop thinking like Darian Elias is like a god king, or Fedor Holst is like an angel. Like, yeah, these guys are really good at poker. They're really good, but if you can get that out of your head, and everybody's just human, man. Just like, have a good time and play poker and stop. But it's cool, man. I'm not telling people how to act. People enjoy themselves their first time. They got to live and learn. They got to grow through that, and experience. Just like I'm just giving people a shortcut here, right, mentally. But I think experience and just playing a lot of live poker is what helped me navigate through those fields. And I play a lot of deep no limit cash, so that also helps.
Let's talk about the bracelet. 2012,
Oh, yeah.
$2,500 limit hold'em 6-handed event. You won that for $182,000. What was that about?
That was like my greatest accomplishment in poker, and still is, because obviously winning a bracelet was very important to me. A lot of these kids, they talk shit about the WSOP and the brand's been tarnished and you guys are rake fest. Like, whatever, they're there to make money, I understand, and like they're like, you're running all these $400 events, a bracelet ain't worth shit, you're getting bracelets for everything. Well, okay, I understand that, but like, if you win a bracelet in the 10K 6 max, it's not the same bracelet if you win the Colossus. Like, we know in the poker community, if you win the main event, or you win like a huge, obviously the main event's the main event, but if you win like a prestigious event like the 50K horse, or the 10K 6 max, the 10K horse, or the 10K limit hold'em, like, you beat some of the best players. You ran better than all of them. You played better than all of them, and that's a prestigious bracelet. You don't, like, who's comparing the 10K 6 max no limit bracelet to the 500 turbo Rakefest bracelet? Like, yeah, they look the same, but they're not the same bracelet. So cut the shit, man. Like, shut your face. All right.
And not only that, but generally speaking, the people who win the $500 turbos, they have one bracelet. It's not like they have 6 or 7 and they're somehow, tainting
that's why
the leaderboard.
It's exactly. It's so important. I just want to learn I took third in another event and like close 11th, but I would love to get my second bracelet sometime and maybe do it in a no limit event, like one of these 1500s, one of these 3Ks or something would be cool. But yeah, so like, yeah, as you know, limit hold'em is one of my passions. I love 6 max and short-handed limit hold'em. It's like war. You're just get value. You're just like turning so many hands into bluffs. You're like value betting with ace high. You're calling down with king high and queen highs and ace high in some certain spots. You're just like check raising so often. You're check raising turns. You're turning hands into bluffs. You're just staying balanced. You're just all over the place, and it's just moment matters, gut matters, saving bets matters. And it's just so much fun. And you got all these players who never play the game, and they want a bracelet hunt, and they get in the limit hold'em tournaments. Like, limit hold'em sucks. Like Ryan Reese is like, limit hold. I like Ryan. I just seen him a couple days ago in the Venetian tournament. But he's like, limit hold'em sucks. And I just like see these tweets. I'm like, shut up. You guys don't play enough to understand how fun it is. Like, limit hold'em cash is so much more fun than no limit cash, and it's not even close. It's not even close. And it's like you talk so loud. You're always in action. You play so many hands. So when I won that bracelet in 2012, like, winning a bracelet in my favorite game, the game that I played for so many years, it was just like, it was only 182K. Not only, it was a huge score. Now my third biggest score. It was, like, winning in that variation of poker was just like, if you can watch the interview, I mean, like, I just like was like besides myself. Man, I fucking, it was great. Getting a bracelet and then also winning in that game. So. Yeah, and that year I cashed the main too. I took like 124th, got an aces, first king 10, and got Guy River to straight, flopped the gutter. But anyways, like, that was a great year. 2012 was one of my favorite years in poker. I was 29 years old. I was in my prime. It was great.
We have a question here. Where do you keep the bracelet?
I was thinking about giving it to my dad, but my dad always loses things. I keep it in my box at the Bellagio. I don't wear it. A lot of guys, like some of these older timers, wear their bracelet. I think it's kind of funny. I mean, I have nothing against it. Like, that's cool. They want to wear the bracelet, but I look at it as a trophy, It's like a trophy, so I don't wear the trophy. I keep it in my box. I wore it a couple times. Did my victory lap at Foxwoods with it, and I did a victory lap the next day at the Rio. I put it on and walked around. It was like, I thought it was the fucking coolest thing in the world when I had that. So it's in my box at Bellagio.
I'm thinking about it. Obviously, you put it in the box for security, but I'm wondering if it doesn't give you a little surge of confidence every time you go to get chips and see that there. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I guess it goes down less and less over the years, because it's almost been, it'll be 10 years in summer of 2022. But yeah, I mean, it reminds me of what life was then. Just like we talked about the baseball cards, and I see things from the past. It's like music, Julio, when you listen to a song from 1994,
right,
or 92 or 88, you can, it's like a surreal feeling where the way you feel about life now kind of goes away, and you feel how you felt when you were like then, how you viewed life, what you would think, what you were about, what you were doing, how you felt physically, mentally, what was going on during that time. And that's why music is so damn cool. for me. It's like it reminds me of certain, trips or things that I did in that time, or what girl I was dating, or where I was living. So like the bracelet, when I look at the bracelet, it just brings me back to 2012. I was, it brings me back to that time. So I just love looking at it for those reasons.
Let's jump to your latest score. Just happened last week. The Lucky Hearts Poker Open down there at the Seminole Hard Rock in South Florida. You chopped it up for, what was it? They took down all record of the deal, so I have no idea how much you actually made, but it was a little over half a million.
Yeah, Hendon Mob has me at 392, and I'm like, oh, why won't they? It should be. So what we made a deal. I got $566,139. That was the deal. It was supposed to be a bit more. My deal was actually 575. But what happened was we only wanted to play for the 15K seat. And then we were about to play, and the director, Jason, came over and said to us, World Poker Tour said, you have to play for something substantial. And the minimum amount of what they would consider substantial was 25,000. So then we took another 10, 15 minutes to chop up the 25 amongst chip counts and everything. We had some disagreements. The kid who had the most chips, like, no, I want you guys to take 10K off your deals. I'll take 5. And I'm like, dude, that's not right. That's like not even close, because he had a little more. He had like 3 more million chips than me. I'm like, no. And I asked for a little more in ICM chop, and he did give it to me. I did get like an extra 12K where my ICMs, and the kid who was the shorter got like an extra 6 or 7. So the kid did give 18K up. But I told him reasons why, like, when you're a big stack, things can change really quickly. You have to give some money back, and some over ICM, just a little. And I, without blowing smoke up my own ass, Aaron Massey was on the sidelines yelling at them like, Ronnie's an accomplished player. You only have $900 in cash. You have 30,000 lifetime. I mean, like, we don't even know who you are. Like, Aaron doesn't care. And like I'm a bit different than Aaron. I can't, I might, I don't, Aaron, that's why I have him on the season. He's just brutal. He'll just say what he wants to say. So he made the deal for me, and they agreed to give me a little more, but we had to chop up the 25. That cost me 8,500, that thing, because we got 3-handed. And, I made the deal, Julio, because the night before I got 5 hours of sleep because I couldn't sleep. And how old are you? You're probably at 35, 36?
36.
Yeah. I know you've been around for a while. These days, if you get like 4 or 5 hours of sleep and you wake up, you get a cup of coffee, you're like, damn, you had a long night. You're good for like the first 6, 7 hours, 8 hours of the day. But then come around like 6 o'clock, when you're on 5 hours of sleep in the night prior, you hit a wall, right? You're like dead. You're like, holy shit. And that's exactly what happened. I mean, the collective days we played 13-hour days, like 3 days in a row. I played on, and then, now I'm on day 4, and I'm just beat, man. And I only, the amount of sleep I got the day before, I just on one of the breaks, I pulled Aaron aside and I said, I wish I made the deal when I was chip leader. I would have got a little bit more. I would have got 20, 30,000 more, whatever it was. But I was like, hey, let's make a deal. And we made a deal. And when we made the deal, maybe I played a little different because I knew I had the money locked up. We were only playing for 25 or 40. But Aaron kept reminding me, you're playing for 40K still. Get your damn head out of the you're playing for 40K and the title. Let's go. Get your mind back in. And I wasn't playing great. I at that point, I knew that I was like really like disoriented.
You had already crossed the finish line.
I crossed the finish line and I was like just a mess. And I ended up taking 3rd. I mean, I ran bad as well, and it was great, man. It's a win. Chop there is a win. Life-changing money. I had a few pieces out, but I had the majority of it, like a huge chunk of it. Just swapped a few here and there. Sold a little to my boy, but let's just say I had the lion's share, like they say in Australia. I had a fucking big piece of it. So yeah, man, it's just hitting me today. It's like today's first day. It kind of hit me. I'm like, wow, I have this money. Like, this is great. And I was doing okay prior to it, So this is like all me now. Like, I took care of my family, my dad. I took care of a lot of different things, and now I'm just going to take care of me. This is for me.
Well, that's great. We have a question here. What was your biggest splurge after a big win?
My biggest.
If you haven't had one, you could tell me what your plans are.
Sure.
Other than baseball or basketball cards.
Yeah, 2010, I bought when I had the first main event score, like a month later, I bought a Lexus GS 350. I bought it 1 year used for $36,000. I still have that card for today. I have 11 years now. Has 148,000 miles on it, and I don't plan on selling it. It's great. I mean, I just put 2,000 into it a couple months ago. got some new tires, brakes, and stuff, and like, so, tune up. The car's amazing. That was a Splurge. Then 2012, I bought a Breitling after my cash in the main for Bracelet, but I'm kind of selling that. I'm in the process of trying to sell that Breitling now. It's not my style anymore. It's a really pretty watch. It's not for me. It gets iced out and everything, so looking for somebody who likes the diamonds. Now I think I want a rose gold Rollie. Rolexes keep their value. I love rose gold. My boy John Racner has the same watch I want. So I was messaging him back and forth. He's sending me pictures of it. So yeah, I kind of want to buy a Rolex. That's what. And I want a 1953 Mickey Mantle Topps PSA 8. I have the card in a 6.5. I want it in an 8. If I can find it for 40,000, I'm gonna pick it up.
Damn.
And it's like 40K, and I'm gonna probably buy another rental property here in Vegas. I own one spot. I own a house now. Just buy another house. Have two of them. My dad's in one of them, so like I'm not making any money on it. I'm actually losing money here because I help him out. Not losing, it's my house, but
yeah.
I want another house where I can just rent, like maybe like something for like $250, like a nice, like a huge townhouse, and that's it. That's all.
There you go. Yeah, you gotta spend money to make money.
You definitely got to spend money to make money. And I'm all about investments now. I don't care about partying. I mean, yeah, I like to party. I'll go out and have some fun once in a while, but I'm not about that anymore. I'm about longevity. I'm just trying to set myself up. So that's it.
Real quick before we get off Florida here, what was it like playing with the plexiglass and a mask? What's that whole experience been like coming back to live poker?
They did a really good job at the Hard Rock Seminole. Now, Florida, in a nutshell, is insanely crazy. I mean, it's like COVID doesn't exist down there. Like, I seen some shit that, like, you're like, holy wow. Like, everybody's just no masks, like, big groups of people hanging out, partying in bars and at, like, nightclubs. I seen a nightclub with, like, 100 people on the dance floor, no masks. It was at the Hard Rock. I had my mask on. It's at the poker room. So, the poker, like, the let out for the nightclub, like, the back doors were kind of near the entrance of the poker room, like literally next to it. So as I'm walking toward the poker room, I see like a security guard open the door for people to walk out. And I just look, I peep my head in there and I just couldn't believe what I seen. It was like a floor full of people, nightclub dancing, no masks. But when we talk about what Jason and Tony Burns did down in Florida for the tournament, I mean, they ran a really tight ship. I mean, they have a protocol called Safe and Sound where they sanitize every single time somebody busted. They sanitize the seats. The plexiglass. They made sure you kept your mask over your nose. They did like structured breaks. So if they had a big field, they would make different groups, different tables take breaks at different times, so there wouldn't be a lot of people congregating in the hallways. There was an outside area where people could hang out and take their mask off and to get some fresh air. So everybody hung outside, and it was like a big backyard basically. They made you, anytime you came back to the table, they would sanitize your hands, which they had the sanitizer at the table. Deal would push it into your hands and make you do it. And I felt comfortable, and it was, the plexiglass was pretty cool. And, so far plexiglass poker has been great to me. I mean, been playing cash at Bellagio as well. Like I started playing cash like in September. I stayed away. The poker rooms opened maybe like early August, and I like waited to see what people were doing. And then I eventually went off and played. So, but yeah, they did a great job.
Have you had any trouble with live reads or anything like that? Hearing people's bet sizes or?
Yeah, I'm a very vocal guy. I like to hear what people are doing and what they're saying, but it's actually helped me on the other end of it too. As much as it's hurting, it's helping because I think I give off some tells in my facial, like in my mouth and my chin. Like my eyes are pretty piercing and they're pretty like solid, but like I think I give tells off in my lips and my nose, if that makes any sense. So like, I really like wearing the mask, and I think it might be a ongoing thing for me, even when COVID goes away, if it ever does go away. Like I might be the next John Jawanda, I just probably wear a mask.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people will start. I think people will start wearing masks, like just maybe the new thing.
Yeah, I think even if COVID stopped tomorrow, it would take a few years before we stop seeing masks on the table for sure.
100%. You see a lot less real flus,
Oh yeah, for sure. Let's get into your television credits.
Oh man.
Let's talk about Survivor. you're not the first poker player to appear on Survivor. How does that happen?
Like everybody else, their story was like, they watched Survivor and beginning couple seasons, like the first season when Richard Hatch won back in 2001. I was a huge fan then. I watched it. I watched the first, season, and then kind of like figured it off. I didn't watch it as much. I wasn't like a huge Survivor fan then. And then I
That
remember
was my
Boston
story
Rob.
for sure. I stopped after Richard.
Yeah, me too. Most people did. And then like Boston Rob came around, and I heard about him. Like, oh, Boston, he came to the World Series a couple times in 2012, 13. Like, yeah, Boston Rob, Boston. So I'm like, oh, this guy won Survivor, and like I never met him, but I seen him around, walk through the halls, and I'm like, oh, he seems cool. And it wasn't until like I remember then, Jean-Robert Bellande getting on, and I watched some of his season, like a couple episodes, but I didn't watch the whole thing. And then later in life, like 2016, I was in Australia, and then Anna Khait announced that she was coming on. And I knew her from the Northeast. She dated a kid named Justin Liberto, or Liberta. There's two of them. There's a Liberta and Liberta, and I always mix them up. But I know who they are. I just forget that it's all right. But she was dating him, and she wasn't really she played poker. Like she was a 2-5. Like she played 2-5 on the weekends. I don't ever think she like fully took on playing pro. And if she did, like here's the thing, Julio. Like I'm not here to tell people they're a pro or not. But like you're not a pro until you get kind of until you actually, if you're actually doing it, like you have, like you can be a semi-pro, and if you're a professional, like you don't do anything else. Like your primary income, like your only basically income is playing cards, right? I mean, like we're not talking about the stock market. We're talking. I mean, like if you have money in the stock market and you're doing other things, fine. You can still consider yourself a professional poker player. But like she used the title to make herself more interesting, and that's what like kind of made me a little upset. And I wasn't hating on her. I wished her. I hope she would have won and whatever. But at that point, it basically made me want to go on the show and show the world, and make the poker world happy and show the world what literally like the true archetype of poker, like who, like the epitome. Can I say the epitome? Does that make any sense? Like of a poker player. Is the epitome negative? It's a negative thing.
Well, you don't want to say stereotypical either.
No, I don't want to say that works. Either. Yeah, I just want to show people
you had JRB, Garrett Adelstein was on there, Anna Khait. You
wanted
to show people.
Show like a real. Yeah, JRB, like when he went on, he wasn't like, nobody really knew him. Everybody knows him now, but like JRB's like the private guy, poker guy, the networking guy. Like he just grinds all these huge games, and like definitely a poker player, definitely a gambler. So that's cool. But like, he wasn't known then. So when in the time of him playing, nobody really knew who he was, and now he's way more accomplished, right? Garrett Allison was an online guy. He was actually recruited in a bar. Some one of the casting agents found him, so he was like, "Oh, all right, I'll see what this is about." Like, and then Anna Khait went on, and she, I already explained what her story was, and then like, for me, I wanted to play, and I am a poker player, and let's go. Like, so I put my tape together, and I did some networking, and I found a really guy who was pretty popular in Survivor. And he just handed my tape to a lady named Lynn Spillman, and she loved me. And, I was picked right off. Like, feel like, yes, let's go. And, a lot of people, I've mentioned this in other interviews. I wrote an article on, I had a friend help me write a story, a reflection page of what happened out there. So what happened, basically, a couple months prior to going on, I started suffering with, like, pelvic floor conditions. And, like, just urology conditions, and I couldn't figure out what it was. No doctor could tell me what it was. And I was in so much pain. And I had all this rectal and pelvic floor inflammation. Like I couldn't sit down for more than 15, 20 minutes without being in excruciating pain. Everything was different. I couldn't sleep. It was just like I took so many antibiotics. The doctors said, try this, try that. This is all leading up to my departure going to Fiji. And when Survivor CBX asked me if anything was wrong, I said to them, no. I said, like, any diagnosis. I told them no new diagnosis, and I was being honest. And I basically, I basically factored. What's the word I'm looking for? Basically, ruled out. Ruled out was what I was looking for. Anything like terminal or any illnesses. Like on paper, I was healthy as a mule, but realistically, I felt like I was dying. And I went out there like that. And really, because all the medication, the 4 courses of antibiotics, and out of desperation, I took all of them. Different chefs in the kitchen telling me I should try this, that. I went to doctors in LA and Vegas, and they're all telling me to try different things. And I tried everything, and I couldn't figure it out. So I go out and I did an 8-day water fast in between some of the antibiotic courses in NorCal, Santa Rosa, in January, 2 months before going out. I lost like 30 pounds. I went from 185 to 156 or something like that, 29 pounds. And I looked like a skeleton. I looked disgusting. And I gained all the way back. And I tried another course of antibiotics. And when I went out there, bro, like, I don't like talking myself up and sounding cocky, but when in the poker world, I'm regarded as somebody who's extremely charismatic, extremely happy, very friendly, someone who like everybody gets along with. I'm one who gets along with every walk of life, from the kid from the hood, or the guy who grew up with the golden spoon in his mouth. I can relate to everybody. I understand people walk. I understand everybody's walk. I understand how people think. I know how people view. I'm just somebody who just loves life and loves people. And you combine that with my life story and my ability to play cards and what I grew up doing. I was made for this game. I was made for this game, dude. I was made for a survivor. I'm getting frustrated talking to you about it because I'm worked up right now. And to have that happen to me 3 months before going out, I don't know what I did to deserve that. I am a man of God. I'm agnostic, but I do believe in the higher powers. I've had a pretty good life. I'm not going to sit here and cry about it. But this was something that I really wanted. And I wanted to do it for everybody, and I wanted to do it for myself, of course. But I wanted to do it for the poker world, for my family and friends. I wanted to go out there and just be this, I wanted everybody to be so proud of me. Everybody, man. I just wanted to show us proud, make everybody proud and just go to the end or make a deep run or just really bring light to the poker world because there's a lot of darkness that comes with it, right? And I wanted people to be like, wow, this is a poker player. This is a guy who has a heart, who's a good person, who loves life. And this is a real poker player who grew up doing it and all he does. And it was just, when I went out there, Julio, everybody thought I was the biggest weirdo. They all thought I was creepy. I couldn't construct any sentences. I couldn't sleep. I was going to the bathroom 15 times during the night. These people thought I was the creepiest, weirdest person. I mean, I'm being a little hard on myself. I mean, I'm sure it wasn't that bad, but that's how I felt, and that's how I felt I was. Never in my life I've ever gone anywhere, and I felt like the most weirdest, creepiest dude. I felt I wasn't taken in well, and they just couldn't work with me. And I crushed the challenge because I gave my whole heart out, and I did well in the physical challenge. But being able to navigate and to form alliances and make friends, that's what I'm good at, and I just couldn't do it. I was just saying the wrong things. I couldn't say anything. I just stuttering. And I'm not nervous with cameras. I've been around cameras. I was just in so much pain, dude. I was just so much pain. I couldn't pee. I would pee. It would come out in drops because of my whole system was all messed up, and I was all on all these drugs. And they knew something was wrong. CBS, I had to go to the medical tent. What's going on? And I just told them, I was dealing with this. I didn't think it would affect me, and it is. I'm not going to give up, and I was voted out first. So that's the real story.
First person voted out, Ronnie. That's 6. That's enough. Need to bring me your torch. Ronnie, the tribe has spoken. Time for you to go.
So you're clearly not yourself. You're miserable. You're in pain, but obviously, being the poker player on that show has got to put a target on your back right away anyway. You know what I mean?
Well, that's true, but I just told them that I told them that I did other things. I said that I worked as I was in marketing for a macronutrient protein bar called Mad Macro, and that wasn't a lie. I was helping my friend sell macronutrient bars, and I was doing a lot of stuff on social media with it. So I just ran. I knew all about the business, so I just ran with that. But I also told them I did other things over the course of my life and had all these jobs, which later came into Travel Council, which was edited and used against me, and it was pretty funny. But yeah, so make a long story. I mean, that was a pretty long story. I just came out with there. But So I can't say, make a long story short. But basically, I was out first, and over the last course of the year and a half, I'm pretty much normal again. I figured it out. It's a crossbreed. It's a cross of pudendal neuralgia, with a kind of slightly nerve irritation of the pelvic floor, and chronic pelvic pain / non-chronic prostatitis, non-bacterial chronic prostatitis, when your prostate's inflamed from sitting down all the time, drinking, going out late night, not taking. It's like lifestyle thing, and a lot of men suffer with it, and a lot of men don't talk about it because it's kind of an embarrassing thing. Nobody wants to talk about men don't want to talk about pelvic floor health. They don't want to talk about their genitals or their urinary system. You know what I mean? Like, men are men.
Yeah.
And it's a sad thing. Like, so a lot of women talk about it, and they go to therapy, but like, men just do this stuff secretly, and it's okay, man. Like, it's okay to talk about it. Men just want to talk about football.
After this, I'm gonna Google what you just had just to make sure I don't have it. Because let me tell you, like, I'm lactose intolerant. Some days I don't even eat cheese or milk, and I still feel miserable. So,
it could be a number of things.
No medical shame out there. Everyone listening, there should be no medical shame. Go get checked out for whatever hurts.
Whatever hurts, just you do your thing, do your research, and find somebody to talk about. There's support pages out there. Chronic pain is a real thing. Chronic pain changes you, man. Like, I changed. Like, it really took a toll on me mentally, and it made me a better person during the time. And I'm coming out of it now. I'm on the uptick, baby, and everything's like, I'm like 99% to 100% better. Once in a while, I know what I need to do, and on paper, like I said, I'm perfectly healthy, but sometimes I have some little chronic pain, but it's gone. Like, from what I was on the show where I am now, night and day. And if I had a chance to play again, it would be amazing. Obviously, what we spoke about a few minutes ago about me being a poker player, now they're all going to know. But there's a first boot season they're thinking about doing. It's all the first outs on Survivor. And if I had my chance to go back and play a first boot season, it would be a dream come true. And we all have a redemption story being first out. We all have our stories, Mine's a little different. Mine's unfortunate. I feel like I really didn't have a chance to play it. And I also feel like I took somebody else's chance to play as well, because there's so many people who are dying to play. Half the cast tried multiple times, went to multiple finals, got rejected multiple times, sent in 20 tapes. I tried once and I got on. I'm like, I feel so fortunate. And some of these people just put their heart and soul in getting on Survivor. And some people never get a chance to play. So it was really a dream come true that ended up being a nightmare. But then, there's a silver lining. It was a life experience. It made me stronger. I made a lot of great friends from the show. I still have a lot of cool connections, and it is what it is.
Yeah. Well, that episode did get viewed by 6.3 million viewers in the U.S., and who knows how many later on streaming. I was curious to compare that to your Miss Finland viral video on YouTube, which has got 9 million views. And it also seems to pop up every time I open up a Facebook app.
Yeah, that's just 9 million views on that. That's just 9 million views on that one video. But there's a lot of different clips. I think collectively it probably got maybe 14 to 15 million views, I would say. It's just some of them have 1.6 million views, and the other one has 2 million. Not that I'm counting, you know what I mean, Julie, but I just see.
For those who don't know what we're talking about, go out on YouTube right now and Google Ronnie and Miss Finland in the crazy bluff that happened in that hand. I mean, to me it seemed like a fun hand or whatever. I'm wondering if it bothers you at all, because people seem to think, oh, she totally got you.
No, man, it was the first hand dealt, and it was the first hand dealt at the deck. When I explained the hand to some of the killers who were in Barcelona at the time, like Jay Mercier and Ole Chemion, when he was crushing, and a couple other friends, everybody said fold. Vanessa Self was the only one who said, "No, man, you play for all you got to call. Like, you're crazy. It's the first hand. Like, you're playing to play. You have to play to win. It's the first." She was the only one who said you have to call, but everybody else is like, I explained the hand to them before the video came out, before anybody seen it, and they were all like, "Yeah, you fold it, right?" I'm like, "Yes." As she showed this, they're all blown away. So I mean, look, if I sat there and watched her play for 5 minutes, I would have played the hand a little differently. I would have probably just check call the turn and set up the river for bluffs, or depending on the river sizing, I would maybe check raise. And B, I would have never I would play the hand differently. And B, I would if I play the hand as played and I watch her hand play for 10 minutes, there's no way in the world I would have folded. You should see what she It was an edited TV show, but there's the whole episode up. There's like an hour episode. You can watch the whole thing. I mean, God bless her. Sarah's a great girl. I love her. I've talked to her over the years. You know, she's gotten better at poker. I'm not here to put her down. Okay, when I say this, but she had no idea what she was doing. I mean, she was clicking buttons. She didn't know she was bluffing or value betting in some places. That was the premise of the show. You have to like put the bluff or value bet card out. I mean, she was just all over the place. So like, I had no idea like what she was about. I was just sitting there. She told me she played in like some poker. Her and her boyfriend. She made day 2 of the Estrellas main a couple days prior to this Sock Cage episode that was being filmed. So I'm like, all right, this girl has some knowledge. So yeah, I don't care. Like I see people all the time like, oh, Miss Finland, it's Miss. They say like, and they just butcher the jokes. So like, we actually call Miss Finland. I'm like, like I don't care. I think it's hilarious. I think it's funny. I think it was great TV. I think it was like, you know, the stars aligned and it was good for her. She pulled off a really cool bluff by clicking some buttons, and my reaction was kind of priceless.
And Ronnie's folded. Holy shnikes.
Come on.
It's a bluff.
Show. She has ace high.
Ronnie, you're going to the cage. Oh. He cannot believe it.
I was really scared. Oh my god.
You're really scared.
Oh, what?
Is this real life?
I know we're running a little bit late, but we have some rapid fire questions to close out if you're ready.
Sure, go ahead.
See, biggest pot you've ever won or lost? Your choice.
The biggest pot I won is when I flopped a straight flush in a 25-15 Olympic game. Came King Jack 9 all hearts. I had the Queen 10 of hearts. I had like 17K in front of me, and I doubled through the 8-6 of hearts. We got all the money on the turn, and really, it was a private game in Florida, so it was a $36,000 pot.
Damn.
And yeah, that was the biggest cash game pot I won. So it was nice. Biggest,
You're right.
biggest
High after that one.
Yeah, biggest I lost real quick. I had top set of kings, bottom set of 4s. We got 8,000 in each, any rivered quads, and that was like a 16K pot. That's it. So,
oof. How was the reaction on that one?
We ran it. The guy was like, one. I was like, how many times did we run? He goes, once. So I thought he had like a flush draw. It was a flush draw board as well. And yeah, I was pumped up then. And it obviously hurt. And I took a picture of it. It's on my Twitter somewhere if you go back like years and years ago. That hurt. Yeah, it's the best or worst beat I've ever taken.
What's the best swap or piece you've ever had of anybody?
The best swap or piece, I had 3% of my friend who won the World Poker Tour, Taylor von Kriegenberg. He won the first 10K World Poker Tour in Miami for 1.2 million. I got like 40,000 for 3%. But the funny story is I was supposed to have 10, and I ran bad playing in a cash game, and I texted him and I lowered it to 3 because I didn't pay him yet. I owed him 1,100. He sold it at 1.1, and I said, you know what, just give me 3%. I'll give you the 330. He said, okay, fine. So I was, so that was so that I had a few pieces on the main event. So that was that's it.
What about the weirdest place you've ever played poker for money?
Easy. Egypt. In a place called in the border of Egypt and Israel, a place called Taba. They dealt the cards like almost backwards. It was weird. Like the small blind got the last card. They dealt the button first. It was it was weird. Like they dealt like the button first, and it was like, and then it was a weird. Like if somebody made a mistake, they just wouldn't care, and they'll let it slide. I don't remember. It was like 2000, like a 10 or 9, 2009 when I played there. It was a 10-20 limit hold'em game, and it was so strange. I felt so unsafe, and it was weird. Weirdest place was Egypt.
What was your worst job before poker?
My worst job before poker was bussing tables at a place called Bickford's in Massachusetts. I bussed tables for the whole summer of 2000, right after I graduated high school. And I told them that I wanted to be a waiter. And then when I quit and I finally got a job with Sears Automotive, I quit. And they go, no, we'll make you a waiter tomorrow. Please stay. We'll make you a waiter tomorrow. And I just said, no, I have a good job. And I left.
Yeah, you had your chance.
Yeah, that's what I told them. And you had your chance. I'm off.
What was your largest non-poker wager? Could be a pit bet or a prop bet.
I bet like 3,000 on a sports bet. But I would say it was probably that. Like I'm not that much of an animal. Like I think I bet a couple thousand on a hand of blackjack. That's the most I've ever bet was like 2,500 probably on a hand of blackjack, 3,000 on a sporting event. I bet 3,000 on the Olivia Bousquet and JC Alvarado fight. I had Olivia, you know. So yeah, that was probably the biggest bet I made besides poker.
What is a talent you don't have that you wish you did?
The talent I don't have that I wish I did, shit, would probably be writing. I wish I could write. Like I wish I could write music. I'm actually a pretty decent singer. I can beatbox. I can make beats. I love music, but I'm shit at writing. So a talent that I wish I had, and it's probably one that can be learned, because if you read a lot and you write a lot, you'll become a good reader and become a good writer, right? You read a lot as a child, like you'll become more eloquent. You can form, I don't pride myself in being that a great of a speaker. So I wish that I could write music, be a better writer.
Headphones on at the table, yes or no? And if
No.
so, what kind of music are you listening to?
No, not really ever. I'll listen to one or two songs. I'll bring headphones with me just to listen to like 3-4 songs, and it's always like probably electronic these days, and mostly rap and electronic. Like I listen to a lot of rap music, a lot of Nas, a lot of Drake, a lot of Wu-Tang, a lot of Kendrick, not a Kendrick, a lot of J. Cole. Sorry, not Jace. J. Cole. Like, but I'll listen to like mostly like new vocal house.
Do you have a celebrity doppelganger, or have people told you look like somebody, or maybe growing up?
David Blaine was one of my 20s. Everybody told me I look like David Blaine growing up. People say I look like I sound like David Williams, or I look like him a little, the poker player, when I sort of shave my head and wear hats and have a goatee. David Copperfield was one of them. So all Davids, right? David.
Wow,
Blaine,
that's
Copperfield.
crazy. 3 Davids.
So 3 Davids. Yeah, I look like I have that mysterious dark look. So Copperfield when I was younger, and then David Blaine, and mostly David Blaine though.
I don't think people would say that David Copperfield looks like David Blaine, but
Yeah,
somehow they both look like you.
Yeah, and then there was like Sebastian, this player from soccer player from Argentina. Me and him look very identical. He's a soccer player, Argentinian soccer player named Sebastian Verón or something like that. Verón Sebastian something. We look a lot alike.
All right. Are you superstitious at all?
Yes.
In what ways? Like poker-wise or no?
I'm just like weird. If I do something certain the one way, I have to keep doing it the other way. Like I can't have any trash on me. If I open up a candy bar and I have trash in my pocket, I think it's bad luck. So I have to go through in the trash. If I have to have all my chips on one side. Like if tournament chips look different on both sides, I have them all up one way. And some days I'll change. I'll like, all right, it's gonna do this. If I lose a hand, I'll switch them all the other way. I'm not the guy who like makes his chips like have all the same patterns and like make them all neat. That's not me. I just have to have them one certain way. Or I'm like superstition because it's funny, but I'm a little superstitious. I'm like superstitious like Ivy is. We're like the same. Phil Ivy's kind of superstitious as well.
Do you have a favorite gambling movie?
Rounder is not even close. If anybody says there's a better one, like there's not. It's Color of Money was pretty good. Like The Color of Money. But when it comes to poker gambling movies, it was Rounders. I love Ocean's 11. It takes place in Vegas, like robbing the Bellagio, and you have all those crazy Clooney, Pitt, Andy Garcia, Bernie Mac, Don Cheetah. It's a great lineup. It's a great movie. Really fun. So it's not really a gambling movie, but it does take place in the casino the whole time. And obviously, Casino, like that's like my favorite movie. Just all the legends and Joe Pesci and Robert De Niro, and just like back in old Vegas. Vegas Vacation's also really good. But I'll say my favorite poker's Rounders. Casino's great. Vegas Vacation with Chevy Chase was amazing. And Ocean's 11. Those are all great movies.
Man, I always forget about Vegas Vacation when I ask this question. That might be my favorite.
Go watch it tonight, man. We got
Mr. Papa Giorgio.
Mr. Papa Giorgio. Yeah, let's go. Changing 500.
I put a quarter in. I want a car. I put a quarter in. I want a car.
I want a car. Yeah.
Do you have a bold prediction for poker's future?
I like poker's future right now. I think like more regulation of online poker is being opened up. And different. I think in the next 10 years we'll see a wide, connected, network of poker being able to be played within every state or most states. And I think COVID has made people like bring back a lot of love for a lot of people because there's nothing else to do, so they're playing a lot of poker. And I don't see the World Series of Poker coming this year. I really don't. I don't think it's going to happen. I think the Venetian runs their own thing, and the Venetian takes all the money. Venetian has like a World Series of Poker or Venetian or something like that. If the Rio decides not to, they just put all their circuit events online. They just announced the whole 2021 World Series of Poker circuit events will be online. I think that the World Series will be at the Wynn and Venetian this year. And I think it's going to be massive. A lot of people are going to want to play plexiglass poker. It's going to happen. And I think the vaccine rolls out, and a lot of people will have will be vaccinated as well.
Yeah, it's interesting with the WSOP because they did run a circuit event, a live circuit event, not in Nevada. Back in, I think there was one in Minnesota or maybe Wisconsin a few months back. But yeah, it seems like they're not scheduling any more live stuff for the time being. So we'll see what happens there. We end the podcast the same way every time with a question from the random question generator. Here we go. What is your go-to karaoke song?
My go-to karaoke song was "Waters Run Dry" from Boyz II Men. It's kind of a really slow ballad, kind of boring, but it really complimented my voice. So as a kid, I always sang it. And whenever we ever go to karaoke, I do it. But it's kind of boring. And all like the dudes are like, boo. Like, but I sound pretty good doing it. It's just it's a love song. It's really slow paced,
And
so yeah,
the biggest mistake of our lives.
There it is, baby.
I remember that one. Yeah, I remember that one. Were you more of a...
I can't sing right now. My voice is all fucked up. But I got pipes. I'm telling you. I'm telling you right now. I don't want to sound like Will Ferrell from Step Brothers, but I'm telling you, I can sing.
Were you more of a Wanye?
You there?
Yeah. I was asking, are you a Wanye in your voice? Did you sing
Wanye Morris? Yeah, I sing all his spots, bro. I sing all his spots.
I can't remember the deep baritone. Let's see. All right.
Please forgive me. Yeah, I love Boyz II Men, bro. I grew up with them.
Ronnie, thank you so much for coming on the podcast and singing and sharing stories.
Of course, Julio, if you ever come by the Bellagio, say what's up, man. I'm playing cash there.
That's it. That is the show. Thank you once again to Ronnie. In addition to finding him at the cash tables, you can also find him on Twitter at Ronnie Bardah. He's also participating in former Poker Stories guest Matt Waxman's new project, Poker Rhythm, which you can learn more about at pokerrhythm.com. That's pokerithm.com. If you want to connect with us, you can do so at Card Player Media or at poker_stories. As always, please subscribe, give us 5 stars, and leave a nice review. It really helps us out, and if you tell us you did it with an email to pokerstories@cardplayer.com, we'll hook you up with a free digital subscription to Card Player Magazine. You'll get access to our archives with more than 800 issues dating back to 1988. Until next time, thanks for listening.